Hello again. Today I'm going to really hone in on the topic that I discussed last week of jumping the gun and beginning to intervene before having done an inquiry or getting any kind of agreement about what the two of you are there to do. But specifically, the ways in which I see ISTDP practitioners doing this. It seems to me that we're running into the danger of oversimplifying the method and having a very reductionistic idea about what's causing the patient's difficulties, since many seem to assume that guilt over rage is the one and only cause of symptoms and suffering. That's what they're looking for, and that's what they're going to try to make happen. So they're sort of shoving the patient and the data into that format. And of course, we know that therapists who, are rigid adherents to their own method actually tend to get poor results. So you want to have beginner's mind. You want to be open and curious, inquiring again about the nature of the difficulties, when it all began. And so again, since people seem to want things to be simple and they mistake signposts for the actual journey, many look at sighing respiration, again, as some kind of indication that feelings in the transference are coming up. So again, there's an assumption that the one and only thing that can be causing anxiety is feelings toward you, which is a pretty huge assumption. So I'm thinking about a case I saw recently where it was an ongoing session, the third or fourth session, and the patient came in reporting that things had gotten much, much better since he had begun treatment a few weeks prior. And yet, as he was telling me, he seemed detached, his eyes were kind of darting around, and so I fed back, that he's reporting lots of improvement, but that I noticed he seemed to be detached and wondered what was happening. And he said, well, that was then, but right now I'm actually feeling very anxious. And so rather than immediately jump and say, you're anxious here, what kinds of feelings you have toward me, I asked him, well, when did that start? So things were going great, and then he got really anxious. And he said, I got really anxious yesterday after having a very disturbing dream. And we were then able to investigate the dream, which was chock full of dynamic information. So that's just a small example of how, as you're going along, not just in the beginning that you're inquiring, but as patients are presenting difficulties or even improvements, again, you want to get detailed information about that. In fact, supervisee was presenting a case in which a young woman was quite effusive and saying how great the therapist was and how much she enjoyed coming to see him, and in fact that she was coming to the office 30 or 40 minutes ahead of time, and that things were just great. So it was quite vague, first of all, and he didn't ask for specifics exactly what has gotten better, but also why. So if the patient doesn't have a deep understanding of both what caused their difficulties and what kind of work has resulted in some lifting of those difficulties or resolution, it's not going to have a lasting value. So if they're just doing better because they love coming to see you and are having some support, that is certainly not ideal, and that's not likely to yield a lasting result. So I really urge you to not have all these preconceived notions and not ever to take one sign or symptom as evidence. So just because somebody sighs, it doesn't necessarily mean they're having feelings towards you. You have to understand the context. You have to be inquiring again about when this anxiety started and get other data to support your hypothesis. Otherwise, you're going to do sort of wild analysis, as it were. So again, I hope especially for the ISTDP practitioners out here, this is helpful to you. So we'll have more next week. Bye-bye.